Welcome to the podcast, Kill Complacency. Here we inspire intentional living by motivating others to handle hard better. And here's your host, Marty Hofmann.
Today's guest is Pam Greening, and she is with Growing Oaks Credit Union. And wanted to have her on because I feel like they are very much just empowering people, not only with a mindset shift on living intentionally, but also then empowering them with helping people do more with their finances than pay, I don't know what she called them, those places that charge a lot of interest on stuff. So, what was some of your takeaways?
Well, I just thought it was super interesting hearing how they started the whole thing. It was just kind of random, and it just happened. And so it was super interesting.
It was random, but it was out of their heart.
Yeah, it was out of their passion for it.
And serving God. But you guys are really going to enjoy this. Eat this up. We all need to work on our finances. And this is definitely an area that we can become very complacent in. But Pam and Growing Oaks is really empowering people to do so much more, live intentionally in so many more areas just by doing this, helping marriages, saving lives, and empowering people. So enjoy. Today on our podcast, I have Pam Greening on here, and she is with Growing Oaks Credit Union. And I wanted to have her on here because their philosophy, their thesis, everything they do as a credit union was formed and formatted to really help people get out of their funk with finances. So, Pam, could you just tell me a little bit about your background and how you guys started this?
You bet. Thanks for having me here, Marty.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. Good to get to know you. So I've been in the banking world. That's been my career. Been there since 1976.
Okay.
And so back around 2017, just huddling up with some friends, my husband who's a pastor, some deacons in the church, talking about some of the things that they, the deacons own a company in Goldsby, and they'd been ministering to their men and talking to them about finances, and we're just kind of powwowing about, what's going on with their company and their outreach to their men and payroll advances and just kind of kicking around some struggles. And the brothers decided, it's B&H Construction, the Beller brothers decided to start offering some financial education. And so my husband had just retired from full-time pastoring, so he joins as an employee development and chaplain to start teaching some of these financial peace-like classes.
And you guys went through Financial Peace?
We started with some Financial Peace curriculum. We later developed our own curriculum called Elevation Station. But anyways, I'm over here doing my banking thing, and my husband needs help, and I'm used to helping him, good pastor's wife. So I'm going to volunteer with the teaching, and then we started meeting with the families who were struggling to make ends meet, making good money, but just not getting ahead. And as I started, kind of unbundling some of those situations, and talking with our friends about it, we realized that there wasn't a financial institution out there that could really help them move forward. You can learn how to budget, but if it doesn't cash flow, it doesn't cash flow. And so we needed to help them get out of debt, help them find appropriately priced car loans, things like that. So
let me hop in there, because we were talking a little bit ago about this. You saw car loans at what percentages?
Yeah, so the interest rate up to 23.99%, APRs on cash advance type loans up in the triple digits. And so, yeah.
So you and I know these terms, Pam,
Yeah.
But if you're paying 23.99%, that's almost 1/4 of every dollar is applied toward interest.
Right.
So that just makes that product cost, a lot more than 25% more,
right,
because it compounds.
Fees and the fees associated with it. An unsecured loan could have an interest rate of 19%, but every time it matures, if they renew it and add another $100 fee before you know it, we've got triple digit APRs. And so there's just no way to work out of that. And so we actually did talk to some banks about how we might work with inside their structure, and that wasn't going to work. Banks do some of this outreach, but we really needed to have a pretty substantial commitment to it. So we just tossed around some ideas and prayed about it, and really the conversation came up like, okay, we've got some great banks around here. We don't want to just do the same thing over again. So how would it be different? And then how would God's bank be different? It's kind of like, boom. Then that launched us into Isaiah chapter 61 and people in bondage. And
so you guys have that as on your website.
It's actually our mission statement. It's on our plaque from the NCUA that says, that they'll be called oaks of righteousness, plantings of the Lord for the display of his splendor. So suffering, even financial suffering, is all about drawing us close to God and then displaying his miraculous splendor as we yield to his purposes and plans and succeed. So, so Isaiah 61:3 is like, that's our vision statement. So, yeah.
On your website, I'm sorry to jump in, but I want to jump in right now on the acorn.
Yeah.
Tell us about the acorn.
The acorn, so
it's a seed.
So I got to do it really quick because it's really long. So that's where our name comes from, Growing Oaks, and it has to do with the fact there was someday I'll tell you the whole story of how we found an acorn in downtown Oklahoma City and all that. But anyways, the acorn has the potential to be a magnificent oak tree, but it has to be in the right environment, get the right nutrients, and yield to the changes that it needs to make. And so to become all that God designed it to be. And so that's what we're trying to do at Growing Oaks through education and providing affordable financial products and services, loving on our members, praying with them. We know their stories, and to nurture, put in the right nutrients so that they can become the oak tree God intended them to be. And then start shedding off more acorns, like our kids.
Yeah.
This is, a lot of folks didn't have any of this kind of training or teaching when they were children. So now they're adults managing a household.
Yeah.
And so our program and our classes include kids that can read are in there right there. And they've got their little, save, spend, give boxes. And so.
Well, and it starts at that early age when there can be a lot of preventative if you can teach them early about finances and how it works and saving and not just spending and even interest. Like, I know I jumped in there on the interest, but a lot of people don't understand what a 23.99% interest looks like.
What that really means to your future, not just your monthly payment,
Yeah.
One of my favorite quotes talks about at some point we need to just stop just pulling people out of the river and move upstream and find out why they keep falling in. And so that's, yes, you've got to do some of that intensive care in the moment, but then climb upstream and say, what are the processes, what are the mindsets that are causing this to happen, and then go the generation before that. If you really want to stop it, you can help this generation heal that's managing the finances. If you really want to have a different outcome, you got to climb over to the kids and the grandkids and say, look, don't follow this path. Here's a new path. And that's what we're trying to do, at Growing Oaks.
So you guys just visited after church one night or after church one day. You had the vision. You started educating your people. They're the people that worked for him at the company, right?
Yes.
But you realized you needed an end product. And so you guys, and we talked a little bit earlier, you guys were the only credit union that was accepted or chartered.
Federally chartered.
Federally chartered in 2020.
Right, in the country, yeah.
So kind of a big deal. Whole country, only one. But it's a 3-year process, you said.
Yeah, it took us 3 years from the day we started. Of course, the pandemic was in there, and everybody was working remotely. But really working through the process is an arduous process to get that done. And so we managed, through much prayer and perseverance, we were granted the charter, and we opened in December of 2020. So we've been, our Main office is located in Goldsby, just
Okay.
south of Norman.
Yep.
And then we regularly are up here in Oklahoma City with different nonprofits and businesses just working remotely
Okay.
there and partnering with them with our classes and then outreaching with the membership in the credit union.
So what does your classes look like? Is that like a 6-week program, an 8-week program? How's that?
We have it designed in a couple different ways, Marty. It's pretty modular in nature. So we've got an express version that's 2 classes all the way to the 12-week program. Some of the nonprofits here, we do a 6-week program.
Okay.
We might not cover retirement yet. Some folks are just re-entering the workforce. So we really focus on, okay, you got a paycheck, now what?
Mm-hmm.
And so we work through that. So it's really flexible in that way. Yeah.
Have you ever, you've probably heard of Robert Kiyosaki. He has a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. But that was kind of his kick, was financial education. And he really felt like the schools were failing. And so he made a board game. It's called Cash Flow.
Oh, cool.
And in that board game, he calls it the rat race, where it's just a circle. And there's paydays in there, but there's doodads. And your goal is to get out of that.
Mm-hmm.
But that is something, like, my kids have played that game. But that's something that's really helpful, I think, is just educating people and making it, like what he did with that game is he dumbed it down. Like, you start with all this debt, you got student loans, car payment, house payment, whatever. And honestly, what it is, what you have to track is really your like net worth the whole time. But you're doing all this math. But anyway, it's really fun way to learn about financial education.
Yeah, sounds like it.
And understand kind of the ripple effects of, he has like a kitchen remodel, $6,000, and you're like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah. We cover, at an elevation station, we break it down to like, how do you go about making a decision? You get $1,000 bonus. Like, really, like, let's break apart how you're going to go about thinking this through instead of it being an emotional response to receiving that money. Tax refunds are a big thing,
Yeah.
So we have a whole session on like a way to sift through the different options, analyze them, and come out with an outcome.
That's really good.
We spend a lot of time on communication, our different communication styles, and so not just like adding machine type things, but really like the things around your mindset. We talked a little bit about before we got on about someone's mindset. You have to believe that it's possible to make a change, that you are not, this is not your destiny, that there are some things you can't control, but there's a whole lot that you can.
Yeah.
And so moving forward and getting going on that. I do want to just flip the script, so to speak, just for a second, because there's another dynamic inside of here too that is a real benefit. Obviously, we help people with financing, but that funding for that financing comes from folks who have been blessed with an abundance, and they deposit it with us.
Yeah.
And so this is one of the reasons we went the credit union model, so those deposits could be insured. So we encourage folks to come and deposit funds with us. We don't chase interest rates. If your future depends on you getting the highest yield, then that's not you're not going to find that here. But what you are going to find is what we refer to as an impact dividend. You're going to know the kinds of things that your deposits are being used for. And I always challenge people to have a sit down with their banker and say, what did you do with my deposit this last year? What was it used for?
Well,
it was used for something.
Most bankers don't know, do they?
It would be a great dialogue just because that's how banks work. We take deposits and we loan them out. Well, do you know what your bank is using your deposits for? You will know at Growing Oaks. And a matter of fact, you're a member, so you get to meet the other members. So anyways, that's just another little thing, not a little thing, it's an important thing, that's a big piece of our puzzle too. So
to illustrate that, I love that part in the movie It's a Wonderful Life when there's a run on the banks. I think his name is George, the main character, right? and everyone wants their deposits, and he has to explain, listen, I can't give you your deposit. It's over in George's house. And,
Right.
you know, Frank, your money's over here. And he's explaining the way the system works. It's not just, banks just don't put money in the vault and leave it, right? They put it to work.
Right, right. Developing our communities, helping our families move forward, all those kinds of things, right? And there's mechanisms in place
Sure.
for managing all those kinds of things, but it is important that we know. I think that's part of our financial stewardship. Those of us that have, more than we need right now.
Yeah.
Certainly, we give things away, we give money away, but there's a piece of our financial puzzle that we are going to need that money someday.
Yeah.
But we don't need it today.
Yeah.
So how can I steward this abundance in a way, not just return on investment, but return on investment in a family?
Yeah.
And so if that speaks to someone's heart, they really would like to help this mission, but can't write a check and it be gone forever,
Yeah, they can.
That's the whole cool thing about a financial institution is you can, put your money to work to accomplish some goals for now and still have it later when you need it.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And then I would imagine, Pam, you guys have also had probably a big impact on people's marriages, right? Because
Yeah.
a lot of times finance is what we argue about the most.
Yes.
Do you have any stories?
Yeah, I have. There's one couple. We actually, the first time I met them was on the anniversary, their 20th wedding anniversary, and they had been in the cycle of cash advance loans for 20 years, and they had been in and out of. They've had 3 children, struggling.
Let me hop in.
Yeah.
Can you explain to the audience what a cash advance loan is?
This would be so. You would go to an office, like I don't want to call any particular ones out, but rather than go to a bank, you go to usually like a retail office, and you get an unsecured loan there that's typically either due in a short period of time, like your next paycheck, or it's a cash advance loan that might be a little bit longer in nature, 2 or 3 months, but typically folks are going there because they can't get approved for a credit card or they can't get approved for a loan at a bank. And so the interest rates and the fees are substantially higher. And this particular lady, one of the strategies that she came up with to kind of, as we started to move away from that, is she realized she could not go into the office because they were so friendly that she ended up borrowing another $20 that week, which then cranked up the fees, cranked up the interest rates. So anyways, this family came, they cut up all their credit cards, we put it in a jar, and we worked through these triple-digit APR loans, and they got their life back. One of their big things was they wanted to get a car with air conditioning. And I remember he ended up going on YouTube to learn how to fix his air conditioning, so they ended up not having to do that. Just getting into just the real nuts and bolts of things, and that was kind of the first family where I really got a picture of the financial instruments that were out there.
The bondage.
It is bondage.
We like the easy button, and we know they'll give us the money. So we just go back there day in, day out, or week in, week out. But we don't realize, and this applies to everything, but we don't realize the bondage it is because we're pushing the easy button rather than having that hard conversation with you, cutting up their credit cards. I mean, that's really hard for some people.
Yeah.
But realizing we got to start over.
Right. And it's great when the couple comes together and does it together. You talked about marriages. There's been a lot of people that have gotten married, that start out in a household where, they're raising a family, they haven't made that commitment. One of the Bellers said, the quickest way to a spiritual conversation is talking about finances. People just unpack their whole life, you know. And so we've been able to share, not only biblical financial management, but what does a biblical marriage household look like? And so my husband's always ready to go through the counseling and get them, that's when you want a God-honoring home. Yeah. It starts there. So we've seen those kinds of things.
Well, and so often we're too embarrassed by our finances that we don't want to talk about it, right?
Yes, we've encountered that where we don't always just give people a loan. Sometimes we've got to work. There's work to be done before that. and talking to him about, what kind of things does your church offer. I could never let my church know that my church has no idea what the situation that I'm in. I don't want them to know. A lot of shame about how they got there.
It's kind of the place of the
sometimes.
church.
Yeah.
We just too proud.
Yeah. So, many of our members have, spent some time in Department of Corrections, and they're starting over. There's been a gap in their life that many financial institutions can't overcome that gap. We start today. We start in the present. We want to help you take care of that stuff so it's not chasing you the rest of your life. But we're going to move forward today, and then we're going to start working through those situations. So that's kind of things that we get to do every day. And again, our members, over time, we learn about their families, have a great guy that has brought his son in, and now his son has to come into the credit union first because he wants him to learn how to work with the bankers. Then he comes in, and we get to hear their stories and pray with them. We have people that you do a prayer request over our website, but they'll just call us and say, hey, I've got this going on. Would you pray for me today?
That's really cool.
Yeah. Just creating
Much
that
deeper
place
than
for that.
just giving out money and.
It's not about the loan, Marty.
Yeah.
It really isn't. It's about the human being that God loves and gave his son for. And he doesn't want to see him bound up. He wants them free, And so we're just trying to do, based on our calling and finances, what does that look like?
Yeah. The loan for you guys is really just kind of icing on the cake because you guys are really after the education and empowering people to have that mindset shift to better their life.
We want them to know how God designed money to be handled, and then help facilitate that in their life, in their adult life, and then in their kids' lives. That's what we really want to do. Yeah.
That philosophy, did you guys come to that 2017 or whenever you guys started talking about this? Was that just everybody's agreement, or did you guys have a sit down and let's come up with a thesis? How did you guys get to that?
Yeah,
was it just a burden for people?
It was. Yeah, it was. It started, with the Beller brothers, this desire to minister to their men, a commitment that they made to the Lord to minister to their men, seeing the financial havoc. They make good wages, but they're showing up needing $600 because of yada yada.
Yeah.
And how do we stop that from what's that cycle? So one of their core missions is that their men and women will be financially healthy. So how does that play out into a strategy? And just like, I think the coolest way that God works and the way that we have approached church growth, everything else, God brings the resources. We need to recognize them and say, this is what we've got to work with. What can we do?
Yeah.
Rather than have some big whiteboard strategy that now we try and plug people into. God has put what you needed right in your lap.
Yeah.
So what did we have? We had a retired pastor, a recovering banker, and a company with 600 employees. What are we going to do? So then when we were looking at the credit union and other people heard what was going on, they're like, don't just do an employee credit union. We need this for the whole county. And then one county turned into 2 counties, and then 2 turned into 4. We weren't getting our application approved with 2 counties. And someone said, you really need Oklahoma County. So I revised the application and added Oklahoma and Canadian, and within 24 hours we had our approval. So we were like, God wants us in McLean, Cleveland, Canadian, Oklahoma County. If you live, work, worship, go to school, own a business, volunteer, you're eligible to join Growing Oaks. And then the banking products with mobile banking and all this stuff, you don't even have to drive to the branch.
Yeah.
We got it covered, so. And then, so we work with, we've talked a little bit about our folks that need the education and help. We've talked a little bit about the depositors. The other piece of the puzzle is our partners. Businesses like B&H with employees, they have a burden. They see their employees struggling. They want to do something. They want them to be financially well. So we connect with employers like that. I love to have those conversations. Nonprofits that are already doing a whole bunch of work and services wrapped around these families, but they're missing a financial education partner, or they're missing a financial services company. We work really well with a recovery place, Hope Center Ministries in Purcell.
Okay.
The gals come down and we open their account. We've helped them get some cars, and we just love on them, And so places like that. One of our founders, Adam Luck, said, we go to where the acorns have already been gathered, because other places are already ministering on many levels, and this little piece can be added to that.
But you guys can help them with the finance.
Yeah. And so that's what we get to do. So really, our members that are working out of problems, our members that have been blessed, and then our business and nonprofit partners. It's just the whole puzzle works together. So.
Hey, just wanted to thank you guys for listening to the end. In closing, I just wanted to add that if this message resonates with you, if it aligns with your values, and something in it today triggered something, then you can also look me up on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. We are really trying to help people live more intentional lives, to kill the complacency with which they have subscribed to. I know there's many ways which I get sucked in all the time. So if this is beneficial, follow me there, spread the message, share. And if you want to wear a billboard of a message of kill complacency or live intentionally, then check out my merch store in show notes as well. But it's www.mindsetshop.com. Mindset is with an X, so it's MINDXET shop, SHOP.com, mindsetshop.com. Check it out. Thank you guys so much, and have a great one.
Thank you for listening to Kill Complacency. Follow and share our podcast to change lives and inspire growth.